Action. Go.
All right, to all you subscribers out there, we are on, to make it easy for you. We're talking about the subjunctive, and we're in our textbook on page 37, okay? We have a grammar spot up at the top that talks about the subjunctive. Now listen, this is not a disease, it's a piece of grammar, and we need it. All right, we just spent the last 10 minutes talking about problems with our personality or our attitude. All right, and you even talked about the effect or the result of those attitudes. Okay, so the next step would be, right, if I have a problem and it leads to a problem, then I need help fixing it, right? So listen, we use this strange piece of grammar called the subjunctive in 3 situations. One of them is to express urgency. So if there's like an emergency, okay, and I want to express we have an emergency here and something needs to happen, I use the subjunctive. Alright, so it's used for urgency, urgent situations. It's also used for obligation. Alright, so you know what obligation means? It means I tell you you need to do something. Okay? So you're obligated to do something. It's your responsibility to do something. Okay? Advisability, well, that's kind of a professional, like maybe a doctor or someone will advise you to take a certain course of action to resolve a problem. Okay? So, let's take a look at what this looks like, the subjunctive. Okay? Can we kind of work backwards? The subjunctive, okay, we find it in an independent clause or a sentence. Notice you start with a subject and a verb in the sentence, like it is. Are you with me so far?
Yep.
If I use a subject and then a be verb, then I'm going to use an adjective. And if you look on the page right here, there's a list of adjectives that are used to express urgency, obligation, or advisability. So man, immediately, if you have a sentence with a subject, a be verb, and then one of these adverbs that express what? Urgent, say it. Urgency, obligation, or advisability. Something crazy is about to happen. Okay? It is important. Which one of these is it?
Urgency.
When I say it's important, right, it's urgent. So it is important, so I've got a subject, a verb, and then I use an adjective that expresses one of these 3 ideas, followed by a noun clause. Notice, right after this adjective, I put a noun clause, and the noun clause is acting like the object of my independent clause. It is what? It is important what? There's my object. And it's a noun clause. Okay? Yes.
Okay, if I say it's clear that you like pizza, what I express here?
So, yeah, it's the same. So, are you using...
I didn't use any.
You're not using any of these.
I agree.
So, listen, let me say something else, too. This is not an exhaustive list. Okay? So this isn't all of the adjectives used with this format. But the adjective does need to clearly express one of these 3 ideas. Okay? If I just say it is clear that you be aware, it's not urgency, it's not obligation, it's not advisability. You're just saying it's obvious. So let me finish my point here on how the grammar works, and then we're going to go up here and try. We're going to play around with it a little. Okay? So here's what you got to have the subjunctive. You need a subject, verb, and then you need an adjective that expresses one of those 3 things, followed by a noun clause. Okay? Now, the actual subjunctive is right here. The subjunctive happens when you have, okay, an adjective of urgency, obligation, and advisability. It has this weird effect on the verb inside the noun clause. Here's the effect it has. It will always use the subject and then the be verb and then the base form. Okay, I'm sorry, actually just the subject and the base form of the word. This is actually, I'm sorry, I kind of like confused you guys here. That's not the verb. Yeah, it's actually part of the rest of that sentence. Here's the verb right here. Let me put it in green. Where's my green? Oh, there's my green. And that actually just makes it easier. It's just the verb in the base form. Okay? Which, it seems a little weird. It always acts that way. And it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter what pronoun you use. Okay? It's always in the base, the verb's always in the base form. It doesn't even matter what tense this is out here. I could change this to past. It was important that you be aware. Okay? So that's what the subjunctive is. Subject, verb, adjective of urgency, obligation, or advisability, followed by a noun clause. The verb is always in the base form. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Yes. All right, now here's another format. Notice in the little graph, right here, there's also verbs that show urgency, obligation, and advisability. So notice I have an example up here. Where's the subject? Good. Where's the verb?
Suggest.
There's the verb.
How do you use that?
What's that?
How do you use that before C?
Yeah, actually you can. You can leave it or you can take it out. He's asking if you can put a that here. You can. Alright, just don't be fooled when you don't see it there. It's actually a noun clause.
Subjunctive.
Yeah. Alright, because it has its own subject. Alright, the doctor suggested, which one is it?
She. She.
Advisability.
It's right here. Okay? The doctor suggested, where's my noun clause?
She exercised.
Good. Now where's my subject of my noun clause?
She.
Where's my verb?
Son.
What form is it?
It's
in the base form, isn't it? That's it, folks. That's all there is to this. Okay? So listen, here's what I see happen on the test. And you're going to get it wrong if you do this. Okay? I actually ask you to create subjunctives. I'll give you like the first part of a sentence, and then I want to see that you understand this principle. Do not use an infinitive. I see a lot of students say the doctor suggested to exercise more and not work weekends. That is not the subjunctive. Okay, that's an infinitive. So you're not actually using the subjunctive. Okay? So make sure that you realize you have the main clause. It's got its own subject and verb of urgency, obligation, or advisability. And then the noun clause also has its own subject. And then it's got the verb in the base form. Okay? And then just put the rest of the sentence. Are you with me?
Yeah.
All right. One other situation. Actually, I like their examples. Take a look at the wrong way to do it. All right. So they put the first one up that I put on the board. The doctor suggested she exercise more and not work on weekends. We don't say. Listen, it would be wrong to say.
She exercises.
The doctor suggested she exercises. See, that agrees with the she, right? It needs an S. But not here, man. This is what's weird. Base form. And does work on the weekend. No. So you don't want to do that either.
Not.
No. Notice over here, guys. This has two verbs, doesn't it? I didn't mark it, but here's the other verb, right? What? Yep, it's in the base form. It's just connected with an and. but there's actually a compound verb here. All right? Is everybody okay?
Yes.
All right. Notice the second one, it says it's important that you be aware of the sources of stress in your life. You should not say it is important that you are aware. See, in normal English and normal grammar, you put a U and then an R.
Yes.
But we need the base form. So that would be incorrect. You want to say, you be aware. And it's because of the subjunctive. It's all happening because of the adjective important. It's all happening because of suggested. The doctor suggested. This baby right here, because it's one of these three situations, it's creating the environment for a subjunctive. Okay? Now the last thing I want to show you is you can actually use a passive. Look at the last rule. Zainab, will you read right there? When the verb...
When the verb in the noun clause is in the passive form, the subjunctive verb is be plus a past participle. Psychologists recommended we be trained to cope with stress. Non-psychologists recommend we are trained to cope with stress.
Okay. So listen, the rule actually is the same, but it's talking about how to handle a passive verb in the noun clause. What two things do I need for a passive?
Best form.
Yes.
Wait a minute. For a passive verb in all the tenses, I need what two things? The be verb and a past participle. So the whole point here is it's still passive with the be verb and the past participle, but the be verb always is in the base form. Keep the be verb in the base form. Mohammed, are you okay?
Yeah.
Alright, cool. Let's make sure you're okay. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to quickly do exercise C. It says decide whether to use the subjunctive and circle the correct form. So you got to make sure you're looking at that verb or adjective in the front of the sentence before you make a decision, okay? Do 1 through 11 real quick.